The Canucks management has made it abundantly clear that they don't want to rebuild. So a quick retool that I think they could do would revolve around trading Kiefer Sherwood. In a buying market, there's going to be a trade war for this player, and I think a lot of teams might give up a little bit more than they probably want to for a really cheap player that is gritty, can score goals, and I mean, he can just fit on any team, and with a $1.5 million cap hit, that's a player that a lot of teams are going to want, and here's some realistic options I can see with the team wanting to get younger. It seems that a lot of insiders have linked the Bruins with the Canucks for Kiefer Sherwood, and I think a realistic deal could be Poitras and a fifth. Matthew is a 21-year-old center who would certainly make this team younger and could be a player that the Canucks are interested in, but he also could use a change of scenery. He's been stuck in the AHL all season, also trapped behind another 21-year-old center of Fraser Minten, who the Boston Bruins clearly value more than they value Matthew Poitras, because one's playing in the NHL and one's playing in the AHL right now. And with 66 games played in Boston, he has 25 points, which isn't too bad for a really young player like Matthew, and I think with more ice time, he can even have more points than that. Another team supposedly linked to the Canucks is the Dallas Stars, and a one-for-one deal for Maverick Bourque and Kiefer Sherwood can transform what the center depth looks like in Vancouver. I've already talked about Maverick Bourque in my most recent video, so I won't spend too much time, but a player who clearly likes playing against Vancouver with a goal in each of his last 3 games against them, maybe he would like playing for them as well, and he's someone who I feel like is a little bit stuck in the bottom 6 in Dallas, and Dallas is in win now mode, so maybe they want to upgrade that position with Sherwood instead. Another team in win now mode that would want to upgrade a young player in their bottom 6 with a player like Kiefer Sherwood is the Minnesota Wild, and I think a one-for-one deal could get it done. Danila has 7 points in 23 games with the Wild this year, but he is also a rookie. He's very young, and he was a former first-round draft pick, so I'm not entirely sure the Wild would be willing to give up a 21-year-old, almost 22-year-old, but this could be a steal for the Canucks, and the Wild may be willing to move him just because they're in win-now mode and want to get a player like Sherwood, and this may be what they have to do to get it done. Our last NHL-ready player is going to be Zachary Bolduc, which I'm not sure the Canadiens are already willing to move up, as they just traded him for Logan Moreau pretty recently. Bolduc started the season really hot, but since then has fallen down the lineup. But this is another 22-year-old who was a former first-round draft pick, so again, I'm not entirely sure the Canadiens would be willing to move him on, but a team that's having a really good year this season and wants to make a deep playoff run, I mean, they can obviously use someone like Kiefer Sherwood, and this might be, again, what it takes to get that deal done. The Canucks have definitely talked about getting younger, and Danny Nelson is a young player, an 05 born, and maybe him and a third might be a deal that the Islanders might look at, especially with a really hot start, and someone like Kiefer Sherwood can definitely add to the scoring that this team might need and a little bit more depth on the wing. I remember watching Danny Nelson in the World Juniors the past 2 seasons, and this is someone who I feel like in the future can be a really good JT Miller replacement, which I think is something the Canucks probably want to look at. He's a 6'3", two-way, gritty center. He's the captain of Notre Dame, playing his 3rd season. In the past 3 years, has played 82 games, has 60 points, so he can put the puck in the back of the net, he can hit, he can win face-offs. This is someone in the future who I think could be really freaking good. Another player who I remember watching the World Juniors is Dylan Duke, and Tampa Bay is another one of those teams that seems to be interested in Kiefer Sherwood, and I wonder if a deal for Sherwood could look something like Dylan Duke and maybe a 4th-round draft pick from Tampa. Dylan is a 22-year-old center who also plays wing, who has only played 2 NHL games and actually scored in one of those games, as we just showed right there. But he definitely has a little bit more developing to do. He's probably not NHL ready, but he's definitely close. He's almost a point per game in Syracuse down in the AHL right now, and definitely has a lot of upside. He has a lot of speed. He's not the biggest player, so not exactly a JT Miller replacement, but he's pretty good as well. Our last mock trade of the video for a player is going to be sending Kiefer Sherwood back to Rick Tocchet in Philadelphia for a player like Denver Barkey in a 4th. Denver Barkey is like Dylan Duke, who's been playing this season in the AHL along with Matthew Poitras as well. But I'm not gonna lie, before recording this video, I didn't know a lot about Denver Barkey, but after watching some of his clips and looking at his stats, he actually looks pretty good, and with the right development, I feel like he can be a pretty similar player like JT Miller was. With all of that being said, you could obviously just trade Kiefer Sherwood for a first-round pick for teams like Colorado or New Jersey, but it seems like the Canucks want to add players instead of picks and want to get younger, and these are some potential trades with teams that seem to be interested in Sherwood.